Hello and welcome to Pro Tools Answers, where we discuss, demonstrate, and elaborate on your Pro Tools questions in the official Avid Pro Tools support forum in Facebook land. My name's Andy Hagerman, Avid's curriculum manager, and joining me is my good friend Anders at Tonkraftwerk in Austria and lecturer for Siegen University. Now,
Hello.
Today's question, hey, how's it going? Now, today's question comes from a David Phillips. Who is a engineer and lecturer for Point Blank Music School, and he asked the questions, hey, Anders, directly to you, why aren't there any unboxing videos for the Matrix Studio?
That's a great question. I haven't seen any either. Have you seen any, Andy?
I haven't seen any, and I wish there was somebody who had a Matrix Studio box to
Oh, that's perfect, because I actually got one in the mail yesterday. Looks something like this. So let's open it up.
All right, let's do it. Hey, but before we get to the actual unboxing, first, one rule: no aesthetic comments on the actual box.
Okay.
I hate those unboxing videos that are like, ooh, the box it's very nice cardboard. Yes, nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. What people do care about is what, Anders, led you to get the Matrix Studio.
I think it's a perfect centerpiece of my studio. The way that I work, I have, as you may know here, I have a Dolby Atmos setup, and I've been doing it a bit like you shouldn't do it, with actually using an Omni for the 7.1 system, and then having a 192 for the others, meaning that I didn't have a good monitor controller for all of
Sure.
the Atmos channels, which I solved some other way. But and it's just a great unit, replacing a lot of other stuff in my rack. So the monitor controller comes out, and the Omni will be transferred to another system, and the 192 is actually sold already.
Nice.
Yeah. So
So
I'm
you say
excited
you
about
have
this.
you have an Omni right now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
First of all, by the way, how much do we love the Omni?
I love it. It's
Right?
the best interface. Yeah, it's great.
I've got one here in the studio as well, and I adore it. It's just a solid little box. The only problem is, obviously, it doesn't have enough inputs and outputs to do the new formats, namely Dolby Atmos.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's it's a little bit lacking in scale, right?
Yeah.
So this is, I think, I've always thought of it, and I don't know if it's the official, positioning of it, but I've always kind of thought that the Matrix Studio is that one rack space unit replacement for the Omni. So I think you and I are simpatico on that. So you got the Matrix Studio as kind of a replacement for the Omni, but also a way for you to get all those different channels for Atmos into one interface.
Yeah, exactly. And I will hang on to the Omni. I'll transfer it to one of my other HD native systems here. I love it that much. And what people tend to forget about the Omni, there's so much greatness in a small package, but one of the best features of it is the monitor controller, which is
Completely.
just great. It's extremely accurate, and it's 7.1. And just thinking about how much you get for that amount of money. I mean, if you start looking for a 7.1 monitor controller, you can't find any in that price range. So I love that.
Yeah, and
one.
space. The fact that it does so much in one rack is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Now, the Matrix Studio is obviously the little brother of the big Matrix by DAD.
Yeah, but in my opinion, for my needs, the Matrix Studio is a better fit for my studio, because it has exactly what I want. A couple of mic pre's and the Dante and everything in such a small, compact format. So I'm really excited about it, and I haven't opened the box yet. So
No. This is the
Yeah.
this is the warm up. To the. So let me ask you. Were you thinking about a Matrix at some point?
I was considering, but I was considering the standard Matrix as well, but the Matrix Studio was just exactly the box that I need. And of course, there's one more thing to this. I mean, it suits my production, so that I do a lot of post-production, but some music as well. But I also want to be on cutting edge for my classes, for my students, because I get a lot of questions about the Matrix and the Matrix Studio. So I just want to be current, the way that I've always been. I've always tried to be like able to show my students, my clients, how everything works. So this is a natural progression for me.
Well, are you ready to open up now that you've sit there with the box on the desk for a week?
Yeah.
Are you ready to crack that thing open?
I am. Let's do it. So I think should I hold up the box while doing this? Hopefully this will work.
If you want to pull a muscle in your shoulder, let's go to the monkey cam.
Let's go to the monkey cam. Let's see if this. Let me see if this works. Let's do one more try here, Andy.
Okay.
So this is the Pro Tools Matrix Studio. Let's open up the box. So this is the Matrix Studio, apparently. Just lifting it up out of the box here. And this is what it looks like. Is that something, Andy, or should I do it from the other direction instead?
No, I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Should I in this view, should I pick it up now or?
Yeah, let's end this view and then we'll transition over to other stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think by the way that we could agree that this packing I think illuminates the very finest in styrofoam and plastic shipping materials.
Yeah, but it's not excessive, right? There are other things that.
There we go. Good. Let's get into something that's actually useful. What's in the box? We've got the Matrix.
What's in the box? So I have this like bubble wrap that my kids will love.
Save that for your kids.
Exactly. So I'm opening this up. See what's in there. Oh, so there are 2 sync cables. And there is the power plug, which is not to my region, but I actually got the second power plug that was outside of the box, which was hilarious. And then there's the Pro Tools Matrix Studio Activation code, which I will not show you, but this is what it looks like. And let's see what's else in there.
For people that are buying this product and others from Avid internationally, the power cable is not something to worry about. It is a standard IEC connector, that kind of rectangular-ish 3-pronged connector. So you can pick up that's the IEC connector right there, and you can pick one up locally at any store that you've got close to you. So it's not a problem. So it's a standard automatically switching connector or power supply inside. So everything is internationally compliant. Now I'm going to lead you to something here. So there were 2 BNC connectors.
Yeah.
Right. What are you going to use those for?
Those are for loop sync between the Studio Matrix and my Sync HD or some other Pro Tools interface that I might use. So I will use them to get synchronization from the Sync HD using the BNC connectors.
Which leads us to one of the differences that a lot of people don't pick up between the Matrix Studio and its bigger, older brother, the Matrix. Yeah. Now, the Matrix is a monster. It's first of all, it's a great piece of gear. But one thing that it doesn't have is loop sync. It has word clock going in, and of course that's compatible with the Sync HD and now the new Sync X. But it doesn't have loop sync. So getting a loop sync configuration with the Matrix is just not possible. It kind of hangs out on its own with a word clock connection. However, the younger, smaller brother, which is the Matrix Studio, which is what you've got in your hands, is loop sync compatible, which is, I think, a significant difference and certainly more of a convenience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ready to pick this out of the box right now. So this is what it looks like when you pick it out. And on the back side, this is actually the back side is always the stuff that the pros look at first, right? So here we can see on this end we have 2 microphone inputs on the back side, and then we have audio. I can't see because I'm holding up for the camera, so maybe you can guide through it.
Yes. So what you're seeing right to the left of the microphones is the top one is the line out 1 through 8, and then the second one is line out 9 through 16. Now this is your standard, very common with Avid gear, D-sub connector that's carrying 8 channels worth of gear, worth of information. One of the things with Avid, when you see a D-sub connector, think the number 8, right? So D-sub connectors, when they're talking about analog audio or many digital formats, are carrying 8 channels of I/O, and then you're going to see the same thing over there to the right of those mic inputs, and those are your inputs, and it's in line in 1 through 8 and line in 9 through 16, and you can build your own cable if you want to, or you can buy the breakout cable that is that Z-sub connector that gives you whatever kinds of connectors that you want.
Continuing on.
Continuing on, we have our monitor controllers. So you got left and right monitor controls. You've got then moving over. You've got, and those monitor controls. Are you going to use those for your left and right speakers? You can if you want to.
I do have a fairly complicated setup here with a lot of speakers, as you can see, and I'm actually using my main speakers. We've discussed it before, you and me, Andy. Yep. My main stereo speakers is what I use most of the time. When I'm mixing something in 7.1 or 5.1 or Dolby Atmos, I actually use the exact same speakers for everything. So I have another setup of speakers to make them all sound exactly the same, which isn't an ideal situation because you're like constantly switching between 2 different pairs of loudspeakers. But I also use my small little aura tones, which I love. So I'll probably patch everything in.
yeah. So, but you have that for a stereo output if you need it. And then you've got looks like here we've got the ADAT ins and outs. So you've got 2 outputs on the top, kind of your standard layout. So 2 8-channel ADAT outputs on the top and 2 8-channel ADAT inputs on the bottom. Now here's the next thing, and this is interesting. So the plastic's on it, so it's a little bit hard to see. But
sure, remove the plastic.
Do you dare?
I do.
Do you dare remove the plastic?
Yeah.
Now, by the way, once you remove the plastic, you bought it now.
I did, yeah. There's no going back now.
There's no going back. Point of no return.
So when we talked about this with Dave, he said I could probably not mess this up, but I'm sure I can. Hopefully I won't.
I have confidence in you.
You have? Thanks.
No, I have confidence that you'll mess it up.
Look at that.
Ooh, look at how shiny that is.
It is, yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
So the back side again.
So now, if you go to the back, you're going to see those are DigiLink mini ports. And you'll see here on something like, for example, the 192 or the HDIO, you're going to see one of those ports is going to be primary and one of those ports is going to be expansion. That's usually meant for daisy chaining using 2 interfaces kind of in series. Now, there are a few interfaces that have port 1 and port 2. I can think offhand the Matrix, obviously, the MADI-IO, and the Matrix Studio. And what that means is you've got port 1 is going to go into one of your DigiLink mini ports, and then port 2 is going to go into another. So it's going to take up a whole HD native Thunderbolt or HD native card or HDX card with just one interface. Why is it going to do that? Because it's got that many inputs and outputs, right?
Yeah.
So one of those, DigiLink mini connectors just isn't going to cut it. So are you going to connect? You don't have to connect both of them, by the way, but are you going to?
I will, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. As I said, it will be the hub of my studio, and I sometimes also use a couple of other HD native systems that I have in the studio to make a bigger satellite network. So that will be just awesome, being able to use all of that 64 inputs and outputs.
And let's keep on going down. We're not done with the back yet.
Yeah.
How's your arms? Are they getting tired?
Yeah, that's when I put it on. I need to go to the gym.
and so we've got the Dante network, 2 connectors there, and then here, and this is what we talked about before. So you have loop in and loop out, and that's your BNC connectors. Since you've got the option, you will probably, I'm speaking for you, Anders, you're probably going to use loop sync, correct?
I will, yes, because I have the Sync HD. Yeah.
There you go. Now, by the way, if you use the Sync HD, could you still use the Sync HD with word clock? Sure,
I could. Yeah, sure.
Completely, right? But in my experience, most people, if you can use loop sync, you're going to use loop sync as opposed to word clock. And Anders, let me ask. I know why I do. Why would you use loop sync when you have it available as opposed to regular word clock? What's the difference?
That's a great question, actually. The way that I use it is my Sync HD gets a video reference signal from a blackburst generator. And the Sync HD will then output the loop sync. It will be the loop sync master of my system, basically controlling the sample rate and everything, and the speed of Pro Tools to that video reference signal, so that video playback on the monitor just above my head will be in perfect sync with Pro Tools. So it will be frame accurate and it will not drift over time. So that's why I use the loop sync from the video reference signal.
But why wouldn't you use loop clock? Could you do the same thing with word clock?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. I think you might do that, but from my understanding of it, the loop sync is a proprietary protocol. Basically, it's always, I think it's always 44.1 or 48 kilohertz.
That's correct.
The Avid interfaces can so easily just sync up to the signal and compensate for everything that happens in that environment. So I've never really thought about not using loop sync.
So let me I have trust me on this. And so let me kind of lead you to why I choose loop sync. So let's say that you have a Sync HD and you've got you're not going to use loop sync. You're going to lose word clock, right? And you've got the Sync HD, right? And then word clock is going to go out of the Sync HD into your first interface, and then out of your first interface, let's say into your second interface, and out of your second interface into your third interface. And then what happens at the end of the third interface?
I get where you're going now, Andy.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. You'll have some slight delay actually on that signal.
Well, no, it's not a delay issue. What it is, though, it's a flexibility issue. So if you go from one interface to a second interface to a third interface to whatever your last interface is, you terminate it at the end.
Exactly. But loop sync goes back again.
Loop sync goes back. And what the interesting thing is with loop sync is where does the loop begin and end?
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't, right? Or maybe more to the point, in Pro Tools speak, a loop begins and ends wherever you want it to.
Exactly.
So if you've got any of those devices at any time in the software, you could choose any of those devices as you need to be your clock master. Beyond that, word clock and loop sync are you can use both of them with confidence, right? But the reason that most people opt for loop sync is because of its flexibility. So if you set it up with loop sync, you could have the Sync HD be the master clock, and then if somebody comes in with a ASCBU or something like that and plugs into your Omni or whatever you have, then you could temporarily go into your session setup and change that and then change it back, and you don't have to patch any cables in your rack. So that's part of the reason why a lot of folks go with loop sync versus word clock.
Yeah, exactly. It's extremely flexible, and then again, you can still have word clock as your clock master, but still use loop sync as your syncing source, right? Do you understand how I mean, Andy?
Yeah, so you could have loop clock coming into the Sync HD.
Yeah, a word clock.
And then
signal,
the Sync HD then would then spit out loop sync for the rest of the devices. Or, to be honest, you could have word clock coming into any of those devices, and then you could sync off that. Usually, that's not the way that works. Usually, what people are doing in post production is they're using a video reference. Other people call it black burst. Other people call it house sync. It's all the same thing, but a black burst generator, and that's going to send video reference to your. You said you have Sync HD, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the nice thing about what you just bought. Congratulations, Mazel Tov, by the way. Is that you now have the option of going with word clock or loop sync, depending upon how you want to set up your system. You've got all the options in the world, just like you do with the Omni and all of our other interfaces. Minus the Matrix, all of our other interfaces support either word clock or loop sync. So you have all the choice in the world.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I mean, I love the design of this thing. Just look how shiny and nice it looks. Look at this.
Just don't drop it. Please don't drop it.
Had to do it.
Dude, scared me there for a second.
Yeah. So what? I mean, is this thing quiet at all? I see it has some vents here, and it has some small vents on the top side, and on this side it has a very small one, and this side it has one. I mean, I've heard stories about people having problems with their Omnis. I think that was the first batch of the Omnis that had some. Some of them had some noisy ventilators, which was fixed with a patch, I think. But have you heard anything about this?
Nobody's complained about it. I haven't heard. That doesn't mean that there haven't been complaints, but none have come my way. And you certainly want to make sure that you have to have ventilation, right? But you want to make sure whatever fan noise you have is kept to a minimum, because, as you saw from the front, you have not one but two headphone outputs, so that you can use those for whatever you want to use in the studio with your cans.
Yeah. And it actually has four outputs, I think. I think you could designate any of the outputs that come out of the other backside to be headphone outputs as well.
Yes, you can.
Is that correct?
Yeah. But you have two in the front, which is where you're going. That's the one that I think really positions it, right there where it's accessible and close for you to just put your headphones on, just like the Omni. It's meant to be by your side,
exactly.
when you're working. Whoa! Congratulations!
Thank you, Andy.
Anders Mott, proud owner of a Matrix studio. I don't have one. You've got one. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not jealous.
So let's do another video then and show people how to set this thing up. So watch out or look out for an upcoming video where we do the setup of the Matrix studio.
Absolutely. Well, Anders, it's been a pleasure. You've been a wonderful partner on this show.
Oh, thank you. You too. It's been great having you as a host.
And Dave, we miss you. Come back next week to us. Yeah. Great. So I think that is the Matrix Studio unboxing at Tone Craftwork with Anders Motz. And I'll do it, Dave. So thank you, Anders.
Thank you, Andy.
And this is Andy.
Aren't we forgetting something? If you like this video,
geez,
like
Lord
that,
mercy, I'm the worst. Yes, if you like this video, then please subscribe. Please subscribe to ProToolsAnswers.com. That helps us out as well. If you don't like the video, hopefully you've gone and shut it down by now.
Yeah, that would be stupid if you stayed till the end. I didn't like it.
Not for me. All right, thanks, Anders, and we will talk to you all next time.
Thank you.